This woman supported Planned Parenthood. This woman was involved in New Age religion. In fact, she requested that at her funeral, a minister preside over her ceremony along with another female pastor of a New Age religion, and that this is what she wanted, and she didn't want to have any mention about Jesus Christ at her funeral. But she was saved. This is Legatus Legionis. I am a man of prayer, and I'm a leader of a group called the Humble Holy Laity, which is an association of lay contemplative prayer warriors that are praying for the times that we are in. This is an unforgettable story about a woman who was very obstinate and her daughter who loved her very, very much. I met Elizabeth about 4 years ago when I started the group, the Humble Holy Laity. She was interested in learning contemplative prayer, and I began to teach her, and she began to grow in the art and practice of contemplative spirituality. During that time, she was often concerned about her mother's salvation and would often have conversations with her mother, would often remonstrate with her mother and talk to her about the Catholic faith. And her mother, who was very, very educated, she was a psychologist, and she knew a lot of different things, was often very, very contrary against what Elizabeth was telling her. They had a few places where they connected, like over Brother Lawrence of the Resurrection, or over St. Hildegard's music. But aside from that, they hardly ever saw eye to eye. That was about 4 years ago, as I said, when I first began to know Elizabeth. Over the years, she has grown in contemplative prayer and has often prayed for her mother and her father, whom she was also concerned about his salvation. Her mother, about a year ago, got brain cancer. Her mother is in her 80s, and she began this difficult journey of having brain cancer. So she started treatment, chemotherapy, and this, that, and the other, in the hopes of stopping the brain cancer. But the brain cancer pretty much took hold. Even though they removed some of it, it did come back. And the prognosis became that she was going to die within a few weeks. Elizabeth had made the trip to her mother's, which they had to fly from California, and they had made several trips to her to visit her. And Elizabeth saw that her mother was getting in worse and worse shape. She began acting a little bit more like a child, much more simple, much more quiet. And Elizabeth continued to pray for her mother. Her mother continued to be very obstinate about the Catholic faith, continued to be very obstinate. And when Elizabeth brought it up to her father that she wanted a priest to come and anoint her mother, her father got very, very angry and said bad things about the Catholic Church and would not allow any such thing to happen or a priest to come to the house. Elizabeth, of course, was also distraught over this, but she was not going to give up. So she visited a priest and asked the priest if he could give her some prayers and maybe some holy oil to anoint her mother. I suggested that Elizabeth also bring some oil that maybe the priest could bless. Well, the priest was not a charismatic priest, so he decided that he was not going to bless any oil, but he did give her some holy water. And we went ahead as lay people and we prayed a blessing over Elizabeth's oil. And she went and anointed her mom with oil, not in the sense of extramunction, just in the sense of healing. Elizabeth's mother continued to degrade in her faculties. And Elizabeth had an Our Ladies of Sorrow necklace, which she hanged around her neck. And Elizabeth's mom said, "Oh, pretty, it's a pretty necklace." And Elizabeth hanged that around her neck, and it remained on her neck the whole time until she had died. And it continues also to remain on her in the coffin she was buried in. Elizabeth continued to pray and continued to seek the Lord on her mother's behalf. As she was praying the morning prayers, and as she completed the Our Father of the morning prayers, while she was praying the divine office over her mother died at that time, very peacefully. Of course, Elizabeth had the prayer backup of the group, and it was my feeling that in that final moment that she saw God, that because of the prayer and love of her daughter, when she saw Jesus, she recognized that love that had come from God, and she recognized that love. She recognized the love that comes from God and went towards that love. This is my discernment, and this is also the feeling that Elizabeth had. So what happened at the funeral? These New Age people came and they did their thing. But before they did that, Elizabeth blessed the coffin and put some salt and the miraculous metal inside of the coffin. And she went to the gravesite and also blessed it with holy water and salt. So she blessed the grounds and the house. And the New Age pastors, quote unquote, came out and they did whatever they set out to do. And Elizabeth's father had asked members of the family to say something about their mother. So Elizabeth read to them some of the Song of Songs. This is what she read at the funeral. "The sound of my lover, here he comes, springing across the mountains, leaping across the hills. My lover is like a gazelle or a young stag. See, he stands behind our wall, gazing through the windows, peering through the lattices. My lover speaks and says to me, 'Arise, my friend, my beautiful one, and come. For see, the winter is past, the rains are over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of pruning the vine has come, and the song of the turtle dove is heard in our lands. The fig tree puts forth its figs, and the vines in bloom give forth fragrance. Arise, my friend, my beautiful one, and come, my dove in the clefts of the rock, in the secret recesses of the cliff. Let me see your face, let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet, and your face is lovely. Catch us the foxes, the little foxes, that damage the vineyards, for our vineyards are in bloom. My lover belongs to me, and I to him. He feeds among the lilies, until the days breeze cool and the shadows flee. Roam, my lover, like a gazelle, a young stag, upon the rugged mountain."